I need mics. Do I have a mic? He is amazing. He always just put the mics on me without me even noticing. It should be a spy or something. You are a spy, right? It's like you're moonlighting as a photographer. Anyways, let's start. First of all, welcome to Reykjavík Grapevine's newscast. My name is Valur Grettisson. I'm an editor-in-chief at Reykjavík Grapevine, the magazine. And this is Pollý, my chief of morale officer, and she's doing a damn fine job, if you ask me. Although she is quite wet, so it goes. Before we start, two things. YouTube membership. We have that now. It's actually very enjoyable to have a community like this. It's very tight and very nice community. We try to, well, not try, we are actually producing a lot of stuff. We want to tell you more about Iceland and so on. And if you're in the YouTube membership, you will of course gain access to some of this stuff earlier. Not the newscast though, we're always just with the newscast. But if you want more stuff, it's a little bit earlier there, and then we of course premiere it for everyone later on. So nobody's gonna miss anything, and we're not in the habit of I don't even know the English words, but there is a word we say in Icelandic, misskipting. Anyways, Google it. Also, I brought chocolate. This is of course for Josie. We know that she loves chocolate as well as art. This is Omnom. You can get this in our shop. It's very good also when it's a cold day, it's rainy, you can see on my glasses, right? I can barely see. So it's really good to have some energy with you. So you can always visit our shop at grapevine.is. You can also find a link to this chocolate down there. And keep in mind, this is the chocolate that blew Zac Efron's mind, I think. He had a whole episode about this at Netflix. And there is a good reason for that. It's a really good chocolate. In news today though, we are going through the restaurants. They are still open, and I will go into that a little bit later. The industry wants vaccination passes. There was a mysterious explosion in Hvalfjörður, which we are right now. I'll talk about that later on. And an Icelandic footballer is in travel ban in the UK because of serious allegations. This and perhaps more after the intro, of course. First, a correction. It's really important for us to actually, that you trust us. And I did a serious mistake when I was doing my last newscast, where I was going over the COVID rules. And I said that the bars and the clubs were closed because of the COVID regulations. And I said that the restaurants were also closed. This was completely wrong. I literally misunderstood the rules and didn't know better. And I want to tell you that all of these restaurants in Iceland are open. But what changed actually, and the reason for my misunderstanding, is that it changed from, it's open not until 11, but until 9 o'clock in the evening, of course. I want to go a little bit further into this because there's a lot of frustration right now, not only between in the restaurant industry, but also just with the Icelanders. The thing is that, of course, the COVID rules, the regulations are getting a bit confusing. This is, of course, I've often seen this in other countries also, but for a good example, the restaurant owners have pointed out, what is the logic behind closing the restaurant at 11 and 9? They have not gotten a conclusive answer about this. They say this is like 2 glasses of red wine. Nobody's getting hammered in the restaurants, and it's not the same vibe as you can find in the bars and clubs. And they are actually also saying that the government, as well as the epidemiologists, they seriously need to form a clear path for this. Icelanders, of course, had a very a clear view on COVID from the beginning. Let's see what she does. I think Well, see, we're back. The thing is, we had a very clear path in the beginning. The idea was basically to stop the virus, and therefore we quarantine. And not only did we quarantine, we also we had a team tracing the people that were sick and telling them or could be affected with the virus, saying you could have been affected, you need to go and quarantine. This was incredibly helpful in the beginning. Of course, this is almost 2 years, almost 2 years ago. A lot of things have changed. For example, we can see with the Omicron that we are still having fewer people at the hospital. We're still having deaths though, which is of course not good. We have had just in this year 4 deaths, which is quite something. But the thing is, we also have 4 deaths in car accidents and so on. It's a heavy toll, of course, but it's not perhaps as grave as it used to be. We are 91% of the nation is vaccinated, and the group that is holding up this wave is more or less the children. They are, of course, like I said before, the teenagers are just in a natural state of drunkenness. No bar for them though, but they are just not very responsible when it comes to anything. I mean, we understand that. But the thing is, of course, that how is it the economic is of course completely paralyzed while this is happening, and now people are starting to ask these tough questions. Is it perhaps a moment now to face the fact that this is way beyond our capacity when it comes to anything, and perhaps go for a course like some gathering bans and restrictions, but not as much as we are in now, which is damaging the economy badly. I mean, it really depends on who you ask, basically, what to do. I don't have the answers, the government doesn't have the answers, and the industry, of course, they have their opinions, and they're where they're coming from is pretty obvious, and you just have to evaluate that in some ways. But they are not the only ones, because it was in the cover of news today. I need to bathe there tonight. Okay. Okay, this is entirely my fault. Yeah, we're done for now. See, it's literally red. Jävlingen mean. Well, yeah, it's a busy night, I guess. But the thing is, it was a common news at Fréttablaðið today, where the spokespeople for the travel industry, as well as the commerce in Iceland, like shopping and restaurants as well, they were actually encouraging the government to pick up these COVID passes. If you're living, for example, in France, you know these passes pretty well. But they have been very controversial in Iceland, mostly because the government in Iceland do not want to stigmatize those that are not vaccinated. Basically because the theory is that if you go over 70% in vaccination, it should be enough, right? Well, I'm guessing that those science are also changing, but we have 91% which are vaccinated, and we'll see, yeah, but the thing is, they say that this will, of course, encourage people to get vaccinated. It will get the economy back on its feet, and it's important because many of us, many are now, of course, not with the virus. We have the 3 shots and so on and so on. This is as safe as it can be. So, I mean, I don't know what the government will do, but it's interesting to see the industry coming up with the idea instead of the government itself. So this pressure could actually lead to Icelanders taking up these COVID passes, and it will be quite a game changer, in my opinion. So this is the situation now. Of course, we have fewer people at the hospital right now, so we're doing good. We're still having 1,300 to 1,400 cases every day. Many of them are children, like I said before, but not all, of course. And so it goes. Yeah, this is getting so wet. And then, of course, to this area here. I think. Am I forgetting something? No? Industry, yes. A mysterious explosion happened yesterday, and this was quite like the ominous reports. Where should we go, Pollý? Over there. Doesn't really matter now. Last night, like the people that live here around, in this area, in Hvalfjörður, or the Fjord of Wales, they actually called the media as well as the Met Office, as well as the police, and they informed that there was a massive explosion that they felt. Things were like moving out of the shelves, and this didn't go like everybody noticed this. But the interesting thing is that the Met Office, they actually they recorded this on their equipment they used to measure earthquakes, and this was 1 in magnitude, which is pretty powerful actually. But the thing is, they had no idea what this was. The Met Office said this is probably not an earthquake. This area, there is never earthquakes here. But the thing is that this was also, they called the civil defense. We're having another yellow warning here or something. I was hoping I could actually read the rest, but you can see my glasses. But the thing is, of course, that it turns out that there is a smelt plant right here. Art is going to show you here. And this smelt plant here, there are constructions around this, and the construction workers were actually like bombing up some, like in some mine, or however they would do that. And it's interesting because this explosion, they've done this many times before and nobody felt anything. But a wonder happened yesterday. There was absolutely no wind and a really nice weather, unlike now today, which meant that the explosion, it just travels with the air, of course. The shock wave was very obvious, and everybody felt the explosion. And the construction workers said, we did it exactly the same as we always do it. So there was no difference in any way. Well, I have to be in front of you so you can talk, Art. You have to get here. So basically, what happened is that it's not a UFO or whatever you would think, but it was basically just construction workers. It's always like that. The biggest news, perhaps, when it comes to the sports, are two. I'm not a fan of sports, but I like news about it though. But thing is that our biggest, like most famous football player, Gylfi Þór Sigurðsson, he was actually he is on a travel ban, and because of allegation of he had sex with a minor in Manchester. He's like a striker, I think, for the Everton club, which is a very famous football club. Many of you perhaps know this. But the thing is that these allegations are still under investigation from the police, and they're taking this very seriously. And the thing is that he has rejected that he has done any wrongdoing, but he hasn't talked about it publicly himself. But the British tabloid is on this, and this is basically where I'm seeing this information, and Icelandic media are translating this news more or less. So nobody has actually talked to him in any way. So it's interesting because he also he has a contract with Everton until this summer, and specialists are now saying it's almost impossible for him to actually get a renewal of this contract, which could mean that his career is over. But never say never, and so on. He actually might come back, but we never know. But he is definitely in a serious situation. It has been there has been like criticism for these kind of cases have come up before within like the football community, if you will, in the UK. And then the investigation only took 6 weeks, but this has been happening and ongoing since in the mid of July last year. So it's a tough situation for Gylfi. He is without a doubt our absolute best football players. So it's sad to see this happening, but at the same time it's quite sad to see if he's of course guilty of what he did, that he would have basically just done that and so on. It's of course it's no way to defend that. And finally, Well, you just check out my script. It's like so wet. I'm just going to do this by memory. We are playing at the Euro Cup in handball, and handball actually is bigger in Iceland than football because Icelanders are a handball nation. So we are going to play with. We are in Hungary playing, competing. We lost our first game. It was not our finest moment, to be honest. But the bad thing is that 3 out of our members of the team, they actually got COVID. I'm not sure how Hungary is doing these COVID restrictions, but obviously not very well. Not that I know anything about it, of course. But the thing is that this morning, 2 others also were positive. So we have 5 members of the team that are just out, and all of them are basically brilliant, and they really matters when it comes to this. We should be actually competing Denmark tonight. I'm not sure if it will be possible, but Denmark is both, they are the world champion in handball and our arch enemy. We really hate to lose for our old colonists in Denmark. So it's going to be interesting to see it, but in my opinion, we barely stand a chance, and it will be interesting just to see if it will happen or not. So sports news, they have been quite big these days. And yeah, so it goes. So in the end, I just want to thank you for watching our course. Please like and comment. That would be perfect. Especially about Pollý, how dirty she can be. Yeah, this is not unusual actually. She likes to get dirty, but it's also really easy to bathe her. She doesn't like it, but she goes with it. She is so nice. And of course, remember our YouTube membership. And if you want chocolate, then go for chocolate. It's down there, Om, and it is wonderful. So, thank you and goodbye.
Everyone survived?
Barely.